Welcome to POP Podcast. You sent us this ABC News report, and it seems like you really want to get a grip on what's happening in the U.S. Senate, beyond just the headlines. So
Yeah.
we're going to dive into that right now.
Yeah, I think what really jumps out from this ABC News piece is, probably for you too, is just the drama of it all.
Yeah.
A sitting senator basically running a marathon on the Senate floor. I mean,
Yeah.
New Jersey Democrat Cory Booker,
Yeah.
he talked for over 20 hours straight. I mean,
That's not your typical Tuesday.
no, it's not.
We're talking, he started Monday night, March 31st, 2025, and went well into Tuesday, like the kind of endurance you see in ultra marathons or something, not in the Senate. And his stated reason, he was protesting what he called a national crisis. And he specifically pointed to President Trump and Elon Musk. He said he'd go as long as his body would let him. I mean, it's
pretty bold.
It's a statement for sure.
For anyone who's maybe not super familiar with how the Senate operates, this kind of extended speaking is a tactic. It's called a filibuster. And essentially, they're using the rules of the Senate, specifically this tradition of unlimited debate, to stall, to block a vote on a bill or some other matter. As long as that senator holds the floor and keeps talking, the Senate can't move forward with a vote. It's kind of like hitting the pause button on the whole process.
So it's not just someone, venting or getting things off their chest. It's a calculated move to change the outcome.
Exactly.
And the fact that Booker specifically called out a crisis and linked it to President Trump and Elon Musk, well,
Right. It raises some questions.
it raises a lot of questions. What exactly is he so worried about?
Well, the ABC News report actually gives us some clues. It lays out a bunch of issues that Senator Booker brought up during his marathon speech. And it wasn't just one or two things. He talked about the war between Russia and Ukraine and how crucial USAID's relief efforts are internationally. And for those who might not be totally up to speed, USAID's the agency that handles international development and humanitarian aid.
Right.
So he's talking about things happening around the world, but also what's going on here at home.
And on that note, the report mentioned he's seriously worried about possible cuts to Medicaid, which, provides health care to millions of low-income Americans, and also potential cuts affecting Social Security offices, the very places where people go for their retirement benefits, their disability benefits. It kind of paints a picture of broad, dissatisfaction with where things are headed, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Mm.
And the fact that he includes Elon Musk in his protest, that's really interesting. I mean, the article doesn't go into specifics of about that connection, but we can kind of guess based on what's being talked about publicly these days. Musk has more and more influence in all these different areas, social media, technology, you name it. And his political views are, well, they're definitely out there.
Yeah.
He's a controversial figure, to say the least. Booker's move seems to suggest that he's worried about, the big picture impact of all this on American society. I think given that you're interested in understanding these deeper trends, this protest really shows just how complicated things are politically right now.
It does. It makes you think about all the different ways power and influence are at work these days. And beyond just the policies themselves, the report highlighted something I thought was really important. Senator Booker shared personal stories from his constituents in New Jersey, people whose lives would be directly affected by these potential changes. It's one thing to talk about budget cuts as like this abstract concept, but when you hear about how it might hurt real families,
Absolutely.
it just hits differently.
It puts a human face on it. These complicated political issues, it cuts through all the fancy language and makes people feel the impact in a real way.
Right.
And then there's the fact that he talked about the late Congressman John Lewis and that idea of causing good trouble. It adds another dimension to what he's doing. It's not just about blocking something in the Senate. It's about standing up for what's right, connecting it to those historical struggles for civil rights, social justice.
So it's bigger than just stalling for time.
Yeah.
It's like a really deliberate way to get everyone's attention, to say, hey, these issues are so important. I'm willing to stand here and talk for as long as it takes until you listen.
Yeah.
And the report makes it clear that while he's talking, the Senate's regular business is on hold.
Right.
It's a major disruption. It forces the conversation to happen.
It's a powerful tool, although definitely controversial. Throughout history, filibusters have been used for all kinds of things, sometimes to protect the rights of the minority when the majority wants to overrule them, and sometimes really just to block things.
Yeah.
The ABC News report even reminded us about Senator Strom Thurmond's record-breaking filibuster against the Civil Rights Act of 1957. He spoke for over 24 hours.
24 hours. I mean, that's almost unimaginable. It really puts Booker's 20-plus hours in context. It shows this isn't some new tactic. It's got deep roots in the Senate's history. It's like their ultimate weapon.
Yeah.
And you can just imagine the willpower it takes. The report mentioned him saying, "I've got fuel in the tank, man," after like 15 hours. You got to admire that kind of dedication no matter what side of the aisle you're on.
Definitely. And it wasn't just him. Other Democratic senators, even Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer,
Yeah.
they joined him on the floor, asked him questions, offered support. It shows that they're united in their concerns. And when other senators ask questions, it gives Booker a little break to catch his breath without technically giving up control of the floor.
Yeah.
It's like a strategic use of the Senate's rules.
It's not just him standing there alone.
No, not at all.
So for you, our listener, trying to wrap your head around all this, what's the big takeaway? It seems like this filibuster was a really intentional, very public way for Senator Booker to say, hey, we're in a crisis here. And he ties that crisis to the actions of President Trump and Elon Musk.
Exactly. It's like he's shining a spotlight on these issues. He's worried about trying to force a national conversation about all these important things.
Yeah.
America's role in global conflicts, the future of social safety nets here at home, and the fact that he spoke for so long, that's part of the message, too. It shows how urgent he thinks these issues are.
It definitely cuts through all the noise of the news cycle. Something this dramatic, you can't just ignore it.
Yeah.
If you find this deep dive into Senator Booker's filibuster helpful and you're getting a better understanding of the whole situation, we'd really appreciate it if you hit that like button and subscribe. It helps us bring you more of these in-depth looks at the stories shaping our world.
What's really interesting here, especially since you're interested in how political action actually works, is the tension at the heart of a filibuster. It's one person using a rule to try to influence the whole legislative body. It makes you wonder, in a time when we're bombarded with information constantly and everyone's attention span is so short, what kind of impact does something like this really have on people's awareness and ultimately on policies? Does this kind of spectacle make things clearer, or does it become the story itself?
It's a good question. So just to recap, Senator Booker launched this pretty incredible filibuster talking for over 20 hours to bring attention to what he sees as a major crisis caused by the actions of President Trump and Elon Musk. He covered a lot of ground from the Russia-Ukraine war and the role of U.S. aid to possible cuts to Medicaid and Social Security offices. He also shared those personal stories from his constituents and invoked figures like the late Senator John Lewis.
Yeah, and this whole thing highlights how important these procedural tools are in the Senate. It shows how divided things are right now, how passionately people disagree about these issues. The fact that he felt he had to speak for so long says a lot about how strongly he feels about this.
Absolutely. It really makes you think about the different ways elected officials try to make their voices heard and the lengths they'll go to sometimes. If this deep dive into Senator Booker's filibuster has you thinking and gave you a better grasp on the situation, make sure to like and subscribe for more of these deep dives into the topics that matter. Thanks for listening.